Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the GM. I'm your guy, Boulanger. And up next, man, I want to deal with the controversy and the rumor that the Baltimore Ravens could be tempted to trade Lamar Jackson. Now, I'm one of those people who I don't just grab the news and just react to it. So I'm not late to the party. I just want to think about what we are dealing with and where we really are, right? And so I want to take you guys back about a month ago when the Baltimore Ravens season ended and Eric DaCosta and John Harbaugh speak about the future for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Okay. Now, let's check out what they said. Let's reflect and then we'll have some commentary.
Well, it certainly takes two to tango, but I think Lamar and I have a great relationship. I think we communicate quite often. We spent some time together today, as a matter of fact. We've spoken throughout the season multiple times. And, these negotiations, Jameson, they all happen differently. Ronnie Stanley's contract took about a year and a half. Mark Andrews' contract took probably 3 or 4 days. We did Roquan's contract over the span of 6 days, over the course of 1 month, basically, is what we did. So they happen in different ways. I wouldn't characterize the percentages of getting any deal done or how long it's going to take, except to say that we'll communicate effectively, we'll be as fair as we can be, and we'll try to hammer out a deal, and hopefully we can get to that point.
So I want to pause right here for a minute and I want to hit on something that DaCosta says all by himself. He says Ronnie Stanley's deal took X amount of time, but the deal got done. He never was at a point where he was franchise tagged. Okay. And when they paid Ronnie Stanley, they made him one of the highest paid left tackles in the league. He talked about how Mark Andrews' contract took 3 or 4 days. So he was never close to the franchise tag. But what that meant, they made him one of the highest paid tight ends in the league. Um, and then they talked about Roquan Smith. They brought him in. He played about 9 or 10 games for the Baltimore Ravens, and here he now is the highest paid inside linebacker in the NFL and in NFL history, right? So what that says to me is there was little hesitation to sign these guys. I'm not understanding why there's a whole lot of hesitation to make Lamar Jackson one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid quarterback in the league, because we understand that that market will be reset twice over, once by Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, and then again by Patrick Mahomes. So whatever his price is now is going to be exponentially more if those guys get deals done first. But let's keep going.
John and Eric, you've both said unequivocally that you want Lamar at the center of this team for years to come. Is that as much the case today as it was, say, this time last year?
100%, 200%. There's no question about it. Uh, Lamar Jackson is our quarterback. I mean, he's been our quarterback. Everything we've done in terms of building our offense and building our team, how we think in terms of people and put people around him, is based on this incredible young man and his talent, his ability, and his competitiveness. He and I were talking today too, and the things about Lamar that to me stands out, he's an incredible competitor. I mean, Lamar Jackson, all he wants to do is win at everything he does. Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. He's a very bright guy. He's got a big heart, but he's just a massive competitor. And that's the kind of guys we want to build this team around, guys that love football and guys that love to compete. So hasn't changed. It'll never change. I've loved Lamar. Eric loves Lamar, and it's not going to change in the future. So, you know, I don't know anything about the details of the whole thing, but I know one thing. I'm like all the fans out there and everybody else. I'll have my fingers crossed and my toes crossed, and I'll be saying prayers. And I have every faith that it's going to get done. And we've got the best people in the world doing it. I mean, Eric.
Okay, so let's just reflect. So we heard Eric DaCosta and John Harbaugh talk, but let's do an honest assessment. This is a 2 year conversation. Now, if it takes me 2 years to decide whether I want to marry you after I've seen all you've had to bring to the table, you see, that means I really don't want to marry you at your price, right? And that's troubling, right? Because how can I go get a linebacker and make him the highest paid in NFL history? How can I take a tight end and make him one of the highest paid, a left tackle, make him one of the highest paid, but I don't see that same type of value in a starting franchise quarterback. It does not make sense to me, guys. It does not make sense to Lamar. And what I'm going to say is that a Lamar Jackson trade is inevitable. So, Ravens fans, we might as well settle into the idea that we will have a new quarterback at the beginning of the 2023 season. If I'm wrong, I'm excited about it, but I do not believe that I'm wrong because it seems that they're further apart now than they were before. You see, if I have a chance of losing you, it should make me more willing to meet you where you are. But it seems like they're further apart. Even to the point earlier this week we discussed them being $100 million apart. Now I don't know what that number really represents. Everything's speculation at this point. We hear about Lamar wanting a fully guaranteed contract and all these kind of things. So we don't really know the numbers, but what we do know is that there is no deal signed. What I am certain of is that there's no deal close. And what I do know also is that Lamar Jackson will not play on the franchise tag. So what's going to happen is there will be a tag and trade because we know that the Baltimore Ravens historically love draft picks. And I think that somebody's going to put a deal on the table that the Baltimore Ravens will not refuse, especially when they don't want to pay Lamar Jackson's price. And we've seen this before. We've seen that it was time for Joe Flacco to get paid. They didn't want to pay Joe Flacco a max price. He bet on himself, won the Super Bowl, and they had to pay him anyway. Here we are with a very similar scenario, playing with the future of our franchise quarterback. And I think this time it's going to backfire. I think Lamar Jackson plays for someone else next year. So my last take is when 200% becomes 0%. That's what this has become. Listen, I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.